Hi everyone, Alexandra Bromham from Venter Belgarum Associates. This week I wanted to just have a quick chat to everybody about what their long-term goals are for your business. So I'm not really that interested in your short-term goals. What I'm really talking about is what are you going to do when you've had enough? And usually this is something that's not really given a huge amount of thought, and quite understandably so. When you're starting up a business, you're more focused on getting everything right to start with, getting your marketing right, getting your structure right, getting your advertising right, getting your message out there, getting clients in the door, making some money, making the mortgage payment. All those things are really front of mind and front of house, and quite rightly so, because that's what, without it, you're not going to get anywhere. But you also need to have a little bit of thought towards what goes for the future, because that will actually drive a lot of the decisions that you make today. Now, when I first started out in accounting, it was a question that we would ask clients a lot. And if you ask any advisor, they always say the same thing: start with the end in mind. And not too many push too hard on that point, because at the end of the day, it's not a big disaster if you don't. But it is really quite fundamental in terms of helping you make decisions in the day-to-day and in the future, when you're around your strategy and your planning and those sorts of decisions that you need to be making. So when I was young and we were doing it, I worked a lot with mining companies back in those days. And for us, it was nearly always a corporate structure and nearly always a company. So we would be right at the very beginning saying, how do you want to set this up? Is it going to be for a mining company, it was always a no-brainer, a company. If you were dealing with a smaller business, like setting up another practice or a veterinary clinic, you'd be saying to yourself, do you want to be a trust? Do you want to be a sole trader? Do you want to be a company? What are all these things? That's the first decision, because that will drive a lot of how things are treated from that point onwards. But it's not the only decision to think about in terms of long-term goals for your business. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the structure. What do you want from this business? Do you want this business to be something that you can leave as a legacy for the next generation, for them to come along and take the helm and take it wherever it needs to go while you sit back in your retirement or early retirement or however you want to do it? Do you want to sell the business as soon as it ticks over a certain dollar value and move on to the next thing? Do you want to take from it as much wealth personally as you possibly can and then just wind it up later on down the track? What is it that you're looking for? Now, you don't necessarily need to have answers to all of these questions, but having some thought towards them is a really good strategy. And you can change from time to time. So, for example, for me in Venter, my long-term goals on this particular one change fairly seasonally, really. So when times are good and everything's ticking along nicely, I look back and I think of it and I think, I'd really like to leave a legacy for my children. You never know, they might all turn out to be tax accountants. Hopefully not. Do I want to leave a legacy for the next generation to come along and actually take over the helm and take over the relationship building and take it where it could possibly go? And, that's fine. That would be great and all the rest of it. But then there are times, and these times, not as frequent as the good times, but they come around where I just think, you know what, I just want to sell it and move on. Regulatory life is too hard. The amount of work we have to do, the amount of CPD we have to do, the amount of regulations that we have to adhere to, it's only getting tougher. We're not, able to employ anybody. The amount of work that we have to do, we're all coming under pressure. There aren't as many people coming into the profession as there used to be. Why do I bother? Let's just take my money and run. I haven't really got a set goal in mind. I do swing from from one to the other. One thing does remain clear throughout all of this though, and that is I want to make as much money out of this business in the short term as humanly possible to grow my personal wealth. That is so that I can have a happy, relatively stress-free existence with my family. So I swing from column A to column E, column A to column B, depending on the time of year. But that's okay, because when it comes to making fundamental decisions in the business around things like fee increases, whether or not we need new equipment, whether or not we're going to hire a new staff member, whether or not the person who's contacted me on LinkedIn, would I like to buy another listing? Would I actually be interested in buying another listing, or would I prefer to grow the business organically using various different techniques rather than going through the cost and rigor of actually buying another book? All of those sorts of decisions are impacted around whether I'm sitting in column A, column B, or with a foot in each camp. And that is what will drive your business forward. That is what will actually help, because it helps you to manage your cash flow, helps you to make an assessment of whether or not the money you want to spend is going to be spent today, or whether it's something you could possibly do without, or whether it goes into next month's spend. Love it when people walk past the house and interrupt the flow and the volume. whether or not you do all of these things is really important, and it helps you to keep on track with where you want to go long term. And I think that that's a really fundamental decision that, or at least something you need to give some thought to help you plan, grow and strategize to bring your business forward and to get it where it needs to go. Anyway, that's it. It's just a little shorty from me today. I'll talk to you soon, and lovely to hear from you. And if anybody wants to have a chat, more than happy to have a chat. Take care. Bye.